Welcome to The Gorgeous Effect. I'm Julie Chanel, and with my co-founder, Kathy Olson, we're about to drop some serious tea on how to create funnels that not only look amazing, but actually convert into customers. It's time to show the world what you've got. Let's do this. Hey everyone, welcome back to The Gorgeous Effect. I'm Julie. I'm here with Kathy, and we are talking about AI slop, but a really specific sort of problem that we see, because we all know what AI slop is. We're talking about it specifically in copywriting, right? Emails, ads, sales pages. And a lot of people will say, okay, AI writes slop. So make sure that when you prompt it, you give it your brand voice and you give it all of your, niche specific details, and then it will produce good copy. And I think we are feeling like that is just half the conversation. That is not the full conversation. So let's dive into this today, because it's been bothering me and it's been bothering you, and we need to have a conversation about it.
I think it's really hard to diagnose when you're doing your own stuff because it sounds good, right? Like when you're reading it and it's well articulated, it makes sense, it flows, like it's not confusing, but there's it's almost like lifeless, like there's nothing behind it. There's no like glow behind its eyes or something, like you walk up to someone and you're like, are you okay? And they're like, they don't look sick or anything, but just like something's wrong. It's like I almost feel like that with AI content, that there's just like it's like dead behind the eyes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's so hard to explain. And again, I think it's really hard because it's not like there's not inherently anything wrong with it. It's not saying something wrong. It's not like outwardly wrong. So this is why it's so hard to fix.
Right. It's not just, I say, girl all the time. So let me make my AI say girl, or let me get rid of the M dashes. It's deeper than that. And I think you're having a hard time articulating it. I think we all are having a hard time articulating it. But yesterday I was using AI to ideate about angles for our upcoming launch. And I was giving it ideas based on my experience. And then I said, okay, well, here's what I think we have to tackle. Right. So I was instructing the AI on that. And then it produced a rough draft. And it was very, like you said, like it was lifeless behind it. And so if we make something really tangible, I would start by saying, do you back up every claim that you are making? Because AI is so good at making claims. So just here's a really tangible example. AI wrote in the email in the first draft, it said there are hundreds of new AI tools every month. Okay. Now, that's a claim. And most AI copy it'll just re-say that a different way, right? It'll be like, there are hundreds of new AI tools every month, and there's new game-changing workflows, and there's new frameworks, right? And it'll do that like 3 cadence thing. And then it'll say something like, every week there's something else you're supposed to be learning. Okay. Nothing's wrong. Nothing's grammatically incorrect, but it has no life. And I decided, well, I need to back up. So are you backing up every claim? So if I write, hey, there are hundreds of new tools every month, then I said, did you know that Grok estimated that there were 274 new AI tools released on X in Q1 of 2026? Did you know that just the other day, Sora announced it was shutting down the Sora that OpenAI launched not 2 years ago and had $1 billion contract with Disney, right? Now I'm actually backing it up with like real life, what's happening in the news, or maybe I have a case study or a story. Now it starts to feel alive because it's actual details, stories, evidence. And that's one thing that if you start reading AI copy, you will see it just makes claims everywhere with nothing to back it up.
Yeah, that's a big problem. And it does make a sense that it goes from kind of 2D to 3D in that way, because you're saying a claim, but then you're saying, and here's why I think this, versus like, AI is never gonna explain it like that, I don't think, or it just takes everything as like, okay, this is truth,
Yeah.
because I said so, kind of type thing. I also think it like gives some perspective on it also of like, well, here's what I mean by that, and because I think people do think in metaphors I think it really struggles with metaphors, like real bad. Like every time I say, give me an example of this or a metaphor, it cannot. It like it just I don't know why, but it just really struggles with that. And so I'm like, I have to think of relatable situations in which this would make sense with my life, you know? And so it's like I like what you're saying is it's almost the next step of like, okay, well, AI is going to do the very least and it's going to say the claim and and it's expecting you to just believe it. Whereas, okay, well, what's the next level of that? Well, the next level of that is diving into why it is true and actually like proving it, but also giving it some context.
Yeah. I mean, and I could go even deeper. Like I could say something like, imagine if you spent the last, 2 months designing a video editing service using Sora. I don't, that's not really what it's for, but, and now all of a sudden OpenAI just rips it and says, never mind, we're just gonna sunset it. Like, how crappy does that feel for you learning a new tool that they're just ripping out from under you? That is the world that we're trying to market in right now. And that is just unheard of. That software that people spend so much time and money on is just getting sunsetted because it's not as valuable anymore. I have really like drilled a hole down that claim and AI is not going to do that. And that is probably the single best thing you can do in any AI generated content, because you said something before we hit record. You said that you don't think people inherently mind AI copy
Hmm.
if it was actually, it's like, it's not like there's a moral problem with using AI to write your copy. It's just we absolutely have radar for dead, right? Like what you're saying, like there's no life behind it. We can sense it from a mile away. And that's what you have to breathe life back into it. Otherwise, people will just turn their nose up at it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, there are people who do have a problem, an ethical problem with it. In our ads, every time we talk about AI, there are always people like, "Do you know how much water it's wasting?" Like, so yes, there are people, but beyond that, it's
Okay,
not.
fair.
They're not. Yeah, they're not reading it. They're not reading it just because of that, or they're not. It's like a connection. There's like a connection missed. You made me think of when you're reading a story. Or like reading a book. I finally started reading like nonfiction, like for or yeah, no, fiction. Sorry.
Fiction. You mean fiction. Yeah.
I always flip that around. I started reading fiction and sometimes, just getting into the world of, and like the feels and I pay attention to the words they use. And it's like AI doesn't do that. Like, so even just like example, like, oh, Julie was a beautiful woman with, long flowing curly hair. But then like a person would be like, that shimmered in the moonlight. It was something that as a kid, she, hated her curls and tried to straighten them and got, made fun of, whatever. But as she's gotten older, she's embraced them and let them go wild and free, right? Like, so now we have so much more context into your hair and now we can picture it and we see you as a kid and we see it flowing, it's just like this ecosystem, like, I don't know, it's 3D, versus like the facts versus how does a human connect with information through stories and feelings and context? And so, and perspective, like I kind of said before, I think because AI has built on, being average of like, okay, here's what all the words, that we've been trained on. Now let's like sanitize it all so it's the most average of all of them. We need to do something to break out of the average because it won't go there. It doesn't go to outliers. So it takes the human to be like, where do I put my flag down? Like, where do I put my, like, what do I really think about this? And because that stuff is not getting put into AI.
Right. And I think I've been reading these like scary statistics that by like 2028, the entire internet will be AI. Like there will be very little human input left, that we will be marketing to AI agents, like that we're not going to be marketing to humans anymore. We're going to be marketing to AI agents. So we are in this weird period of time where we can still reach humans on the internet, which is like, I don't know, I like have a pit in my stomach even saying that out loud.
Yeah.
But don't waste this time in life using like not giving some real human, good old fashioned rambling storytelling, poor
Yeah, they call it
grammar.
yapping on social media. It's like a new trend of just getting in, like sitting in your car and going, we know what really pisses me off, and
Yeah.
it's what you're saying.
Yeah. I mean, there's not a lot of time left. we are on a countdown timer of being able to yap and actually have humans hear us because once we have to market to AI agents, they don't care about any of this. They just want like, it's like I was reading somewhere about how to market to AI agents and it's like a machine. So they just want, facts and logic and, constraints and like they just want like if then statements. And so like just for now, even though I know AI makes everything easier, just assume that every piece of copy that comes out of AI is dead. It is literally dead and it needs CPR. And it's your job to put CPR on it. And if you're a really good prompt engineer, you might be able to have it bring life even without doing that. But if you're not backing up your claims, if you're not telling stories, if you're not rambling, the other thing I notice is that AI has the same structure. And like when people write email sequences, I mean, it's like literally the same structure every email. And it's so you just get blind to it. You don't read it anymore.
It's funny because when I will put, I'll like, it'll write something and I'm like, no, 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 you're missing it. You're missing the plot or whatever. And then I'll rewrite it and then I'll give it to it because I'm trying to get it to learn. And I don't know if it's learning, probably not. But like either way, I'm like, here's how I would say it. And it always goes, wow, yeah, you're right. That's so much better. And it's not even, and this is Claude too. So it's not even being like a yes, ma'am. It's just like, you picked up on this, you picked up on that. Like it's like going, yeah, this is good stuff. And I'm like, no crap, because it's written by a human.
By a human.
Like it's like nothing like what you would write. But again, and I do think it's learning a little bit. But yeah, you're right. I think that I think it's cool though too, like that I'm ready to ramble. Like I'm ready to go on and ramble and just say the things that are imperfect and whatever, because that's always been my world of being imperfect and speaking in incomplete sentences. So I'm here for it.
Yeah, when you look at any of your ads, your emails, your sales pages, the very first question you want to ask is, are you backing up your claims with stories, with feelings, with evidence? If you're not, it's not ready. Assume all copy is dead until you resurrect it. And it's not just about your voice. It's also about structure. It's also about, like you said, I wrote an article and then once it was done and published, I put it into Chat GPT or Claude or whatever. I was like, what do you think of my article? And it was like, oh, it's really good. And here are the things that I would tighten. And I was like, man, you are sanitizing the shit out of this. Like, stop it. It really does water things down. And I would encourage you to write first, AI second. I did it the opposite the other day. And I was like, man, it's so much harder to like go backwards and bring something to life, you know?
Yeah, I do. I think that, and I was working on some ads and stuff as well this week. One thing that I did was I don't want it to give me a perspective, and I don't want it to, in metaphors are terrible, but like I'm still using it to gather my thoughts because I am all over the place, and I like, so I'm like brainstorming. I'm like, here's my idea, but like, can you kind of make it make sense? But use my idea and use my perspective, and don't water it down. Right? Like here's where I'm standing. I'm standing on business on this, and you aren't gonna don't like pull it away, but just help me make it flow better, and stuff like that. So, and even having it like interview you, I said I want you to ask me these questions so I can figure out the angles. And once it asked me the questions, it was angles that were totally different than what it was saying, because it was real stuff. I was like, it was like, what keeps this person up at night? What do they really care about? And I'm like, well, they care about this, but it's not for the reason you think. They care about it because of this. So it's like you have to give it that insight on like how we think in order to flip something around, So I think that's really helpful to make it to have it get the information from you. Like you are the source
Mm.
versus it being the source.
Yeah, that's a great reframe. That's a great reframe because then it can mine out of your experience and your ideas. And you can do that on a walk, just voicing. Like you don't even have to be at your desk. And I guarantee you'll have much, much better copy. And there is no substitute for what you learn in action, right? And so if you have customers, if you have clients, if you have experiences, the more stuff you do, the more action you take, the more you have to draw from. And I think about this every time I go on these ridiculous animal side quests like hatching chicks or raising sheep or whatever, because I'm like doing stuff and then like ideas and metaphors and analogies are just popping up because I'm like actually in tangible, grounded real life. So if you find that you are lacking in some of that, you might need to step away from the computer and have a life a little bit, right? Or at least like draw from your actual customers, the actual problems. Don't just default to like, build me a marketing plan based on blah, blah, blah. No, go look at the last customer you helped and be like, what did you do? Step 1, 2, 3, and draw from that.
Yeah, and you also made me think of just like that niche marketing is going to be more important than ever because everything's getting averaged, like, and like sanitized and vanillaized. That niching is really important. So, and I think this is actually for the future too with the AI bots. I think they're going to be looking for specificity in order, because how else are they going to narrow it down without a niche, right? So, like, for example, I asked AI. My daughter like has basically bad knees or bad kneecaps. They keep dislocating. It's happened 3 times
Ugh.
already. I know. And so, and then our regular doctor was just like, oh, just wear a knee brace or whatever. And we're like, no, no, this keeps happening. Like, we need to do something about it. So I asked AI, can you find me a pediatric orthopedic surgeon that specializes in ligament like kneecaps, in San Diego. And it literally found me one that was like a hop skipping away from us that has written papers on this exact problem she has. Like, how else would I have ever found? Not Google's not going to get me there,
Yeah. Yeah.
And it gave me like a lot of other options and stuff. But there's no way I would have even found this guy if he wasn't that freaking niche. Like, not only just like pediatric, orthopedic or whatever that is called,
Orthopedics. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
orthopedist, yeah. Like, he's also surgeon. Like, you know what I'm saying? It was very specific, and so I think being a human to stand out, we need a niche because otherwise, how are we comparing? But also, I think in the future with AI, we need a niche because now if AI is comparing,
Right.
it's gonna find us that way too. But again, that means you have to rise above the average and you have to break free, which I think we're so scared to do because we don't want to alienate anybody. We want to work with everybody. But this is just goes around to say, like, you have to stand out. You have to like separate yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, as always, if there is a topic you want Kathy and I to discuss, please feel free to DM us at Funnel Gorgeous on Instagram. We take your requests very seriously, and we will talk to you soon.
Hey, gorgeous. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. And if you're thinking, okay, but what now? We've got you. So just for listening today, we want to give you a gift. Head over to learngorgeous.com. We're going to grab some free resources, free trainings, this month's specials, and everything you need to keep going. Until next time, make it gorgeous.